Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
This seat taken.
Hey, Kiernan. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Ryan. You know, I'm in the post-holiday doldrums here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still sort of the days of Christmas, right? Like it's still New Year's. We still got
No, we're past Three Kings Day, baby. After Three Kings Day, it's all this is pine trees on the curb, you know, dogs peeing on it until it gets picked up by the city kind of time.
The WeWork still has Santa Claus decorations up. You know, I feel very festive still. It's still 92 degrees.
I do. This is a little inside baseball, but as folks know, Ryan is relocated to live permanently as a nomad in South America, and you do tend to only schedule podcasts when you have access to a WeWork.
Well, then I know that I have good internet.
Right. Makes sense. So where are you today?
I'm in Santiago, Chile.
Oh, you're still in Chile. I didn't know that. Okay. So how long have you been there in total?
I got here about 10 days ago, and I'm here for another 7 days. So it'll be quite a trip.
I mean, and we can already tease that's going to be our next episode is a big Chile country guide.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge country. So we're going to talk about Santiago and a couple things that you can do, either on a day trip or longer, sort of outside of Santiago. So it's.
And did you end up doing any of the big like national park stuff I wanted you to do?
I'm going actually on Friday to the Andes Mountains to do this big natural hot spring thing, which is sort of outdoorsy, sort of Kiernan-esque.
Gosh, I thought Friday was a work day.
I took a day off.
Took a day off this early in January.
Benefit of being the boss.
My goodness, that's great. Well, yeah. I'm glad you're taking advantage of being there. And we have so much to catch up. I guess we should just cover that the topic today, it's if you're in the holiday doldrums like I am, this is a perfect reason for us to talk about our topic today, which is we're going to talk about what I'm calling skiing for the skeptical, because I, for many, many years, was a skiing skeptic. It came mostly from genuine fear and also from being, a little cheap. And I'm going to make the argument for why skiing is the perfect entertainment to get you through post-holiday doldrums, because it's core ski time that we're heading into.
Yeah, no, I know that it's always surprised me that you're a skier, because you don't come across as somebody who does a lot of skiing.
I even feel uncomfortable and a little itchy calling myself a skier because I'm very brand new to it still. I'm only 6-7 years in.
That's pretty good.
People who are born on skis, those are true skiers. People who grew up in the West with great access to mountains, or people in Vermont, New Hampshire. These are true skiers. My wife is a true skier, which goes into my story of why I began skiing, but we'll get into that in the meat of the episode. First, right, I just got to add, we saved our full holiday catch up for right here on the pod because we knew the listeners would want to hear. So take me through, how were the holidays? I know you weren't going home to the family; you were doing Christmas in South America. So tell me what you did.
Yeah, so we actually did Christmas here in Santiago and went to a fancy hotel Christmas dinner, which was lovely. And then we did New Year's on the coast in
outside. Who's we here? Who are we talking about?
Friend in the pod, Chase Whiteside.
Acquaintance of the pod, two-time Peabody loser, Chase Whiteside. Yes.
And we did the New Year's Eve in Vin del Mar, which is a port town about 2-hour drive from Santiago, and they do this incredible New Year's thing where all the ships shoot up fireworks. So that was really cool. That's
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah,
I do. What does So what does a Christmas look like outside of the hotel feast for two expats kicking around single gentleman. I'm genuinely curious here. Do you sleep in late? Because I mine was all very traditional. It was little kids, gifts under the tree, a big breakfast, drive to the relative's house, have a big dinner. Yeah. Very, very traditional white Christmas sort of stuff, including we did get snow on Christmas Eve day. So we had an actual white Christmas, which was very fun.
Well, in Latin America, Christmas Eve is a big night. So we did the big Christmas Eve dinner. And then
church. Did you go to church?
We had some drinks and of Christmas Eve, and then
is that your replacement for church?
And then we woke up on Christmas Day, and because I definitely slept in a bit, and then met up and found a place that was open for coffee and read and walked around town because we had just both gotten in, so we hadn't seen any of the cities. So Christmas Day was
something was actually open for coffee.
Well, yeah, in the afternoon, like everything, like in the morning, nothing was open, but by the afternoon, things were opening up and people were out and about. Yeah. I mean, because they do their big family stuff on the 24th. So.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know Christmas was like that much of not a normal day, but it's not. Christmas Eve really is the focus.
Definitely. Yeah. And we didn't go to church. We definitely walked by some churches, which was nice.
I think that may count. I mean, under Pope Francis, he's loosening it up so much.
If you're close enough, you can, the Holy Ghost rubs off on you a bit. So, and I got to dupe Chase with that Immaculate Conception question, and he also
excellent. And did he get it wrong?
Yeah, he got it wrong.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. I love it.
That was our most Christmas conversation with me.
And do you and Chase Whiteside exchange gifts?
No.
So no gifts. You did not get a gift this Christmas season outside of the ugly ornament from me.
No, I don't think I got a gift. I mean, we buy each other dinner, alternate.
Oh, okay. Did you call mom?
I did call mom. I got mom a gift.
Okay.
She collects giraffes. And I got her this Chilean street artist did this really cool mural of a giraffe, gift. And I got a print of that, which is quite cool.
Oh, that's pretty good. Very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Okay, that can suffice for the Judy alert for Christmas.
Yeah,
that's good.
And it hits the 3 Ps. So yeah.
Which are of course for those who are new to the podcast, the 3 Ps are the guiding principles for what I think make a good souvenir, which is that they are
price, portable, and potency.
You got it. Got it. It's got a decent price. Doesn't bankrupt you. It's easy to send home or travel with, and it evokes a strong sense memory for where you were.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've nailed the 3 Ps. I'm going to have to stop asking at this point.
I love the 3 Ps.
Unfortunately, 6 years in, you've actually taken to remembering them.
I think when we do our travel book, it should really center around the 3 Ps. We need
I'm not sure that's going to be bookful, but sure. Okay, maybe. And I guess for me, one thing I wanted to highlight that is a gift idea for future Christmases for out of office listeners is it's always nice to have like one gift for somebody that you're going to go on a trip with. You might get them a piece of gear or something that they might need. But one thing that always evokes a strong, potent sense memory for me is when I'm putting up my tree. On Etsy, I got this fantastic ornament several years ago when Catherine and I went to Alaska for the first time. And it was like a laser cut metal ornament of Alaska, which is a very distinctive shape, of course.
Yes, it is.
And it's super sharp and very not physically sharp. I mean, it is actually kind of physically sharp, but it's very sharp looking on the tree. And it always kind of brings me back. I like ornaments that are related to travel. So if you've got a trip coming up, that's something to keep in mind for yourself, either to remind you of the trip, a potent ornament for next Christmas, or something you can give to others, which I guess is not that handy here in the middle of January.
Well, it's never too early to get. This is the best time to buy gifts. Everything's 50% off or something, right?
I suppose that is true. I mean, really, that's if you guys were exchanging gifts, I would suggest you do it 2 weeks later, right?
Yeah, no, that's well, he flew off, so I'm all alone here in Santiago.
Oh, I didn't know he's already gone. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, he went back to the real world, and I fly back next week, and then I've got like a real hectic domestic travel schedule before I leave for Europe. So
domestic in the U.S.
In the U.S., yeah,
because you're starting to come to that point where you have to spend time outside of South America. Right?
I gotta see my mom. I gotta hit New York up. I gotta go to a conference. It's like the whole thing, and I'm doing it all in like 2.5 weeks. So it'll be
what
intense.
Conference are you going to be at?
A political tech conference in Phoenix, Arizona. So that'll be.
Is it that one that we've been Netroots?
No, it's a new one, like thrown by. I call it the What the Hell Happened conference, but I don't know that.
It's not going to be too happy this year. But Ryan, remember, we're taking a break from politics.
Of course.
Well, certainly, if listeners want to give us a gift post holidays, it would be wonderful to see some ratings and reviews coming in. We always like those 5 stars. Helps people discover the podcast. We continue to see our download numbers grow, but we're really looking for this year to be, kicking into high gear. Ryan and I are talking about some exciting new plans for growing the podcast this year. Might take it in several different directions. If you have an idea how you'd like us to go, how you'd like to, slip us a few bucks for the service we provide, outofoffice@gmail.com. Outofoffice@gmail.com, is that right? Outofofficepod? OOO-pod? What is it?
It's outofofficepod@gmail.com.
Yeah, outofofficepod@gmail.com. Or you could slip into those DMs at OOO Podcasts, at OOO Podcasts on Instagram.
But we do have a shout out to Freddie Michaels 3000, who left us a review, who says he loves the camaraderie between us, that we make the topics a joy to listen to, and he especially loves the quirky Kiernan episodes. So keep it up, guys.
You must have really hated that, right?
I didn't know you. I knew you must have seen Family this Christmas, so that's how that review came to be.
Yeah, no,
cousin Freddie
is Freddie 2999. Well, we appreciate it very much, and of course, recommendations to friends also help us. But here's another topic that Ryan and I are looking to get some guidance on. As folks know, a couple years ago, we started, when Ryan is domestic, to start to do a few like 4 or 5 day trips together. Our first one we did together was Richmond, Virginia, because while Ryan and I have traveled extensively separately, we actually have not spent a ton of time traveling together over the years. So Richmond, Virginia was the kickoff. Very fun episode back in the archives. And then this past year, we did Louisville, Kentucky, and Mammoth Cave National Park in one go. And we are trying to match when Ryan's in the U.S. with another trip here. And what we're usually looking for is, and Ryan, you should pitch in here as well. I actually think the Louisville was a good model for a trip for us, which is something that is city adjacent. So maybe it's like based in not one of the main, not Chicago or LA or New York, which are places we've spent time before, but kind of those second travel destination sort of cities. And if it has proximity to a national park or some sort of outdoor exploration, that would be a real plus, because what we found with Louisville was we could do an episode solely about the city, where we got out and explored the bars and restaurants and culture there. And then we did a couple that were just about the national park. So that was a perfect destination for us. So if you have ideas you want to pitch, send them on over to the email or put them in a review.
Yeah, we need to get this on the books for, I guess we're thinking like May or June, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, travel is like, my calendar is booking up with travel pretty fast. So I'm hoping we can fit it into spring. I could see it being pushed to fall if you're going to be stateside again.
Well, I just got invited to a mutual friend's wedding. I got to go to Ireland in September, of all places.
Who a mutual friend?
Yeah.
One of my friends? I didn't get this invite.
A Blue Stater, Mr. Bowman. Getting married out there in Ireland.
Johnny Bowman. Okay, yeah. Well, gosh, you're close enough to Johnny Bowman that you got invited to Johnny Bowman's wedding in Ireland?
Yeah, I talk to Johnny Bowman all the time.
Also, Johnny Bowman, why is he getting married in Ireland? Is he marrying an Irish Catholic girl?
No, he is very Irish these days.
He's increasingly Irish.
He's gotten into his Irish heritage. Yeah.
Where's it going to be?
It's in like it's not in Dublin. It's in some county I never heard of. I got to figure it out.
My goodness. Well, congrats to Johnny Bowman, and presumably I'm going to be Ryan's +1. So I look forward to being there.
Yeah, if you can get away, sure.
Now I do know, Ryan, we kicked around a couple of ideas. I believe Kansas City was a possibility that we had been considering. Are there any others that have popped in your mind?
Oh, Kansas City is an interesting one.
I know we've talked about this is a little bit longer of a haul because it's not the easiest destination to get to, but it doesn't check the city box. I mean, maybe we could swing by Bismarck or something.
Yeah.
But the Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota, it's been calling me for a lot of years.
Oh, I just started watching Yellowstone, and I've got Montana on the mind.
Actually, it's interesting that the travel schedule in the year ahead, which is starting to take shape. I'll talk about a little bit in the last stop, because in the last stop we're going to be covering our resolutions from last year and new travel related resolutions we have for the year ahead. But Yellowstone is a possibility for me this year, and that has loomed large for me because I had to cancel it several years ago. Had it all booked. And it was it aligned with when the full eclipse was hitting Yellowstone, and there was not a rental car to be had in the West. So I was going to fly there and have no way to actually get to Yellowstone.
Oof. Yeah, you need to be able to get there. That would be disappointing. You're not like the hitchhiking type.
No, I'm not. Well, Ryan, I think it's probably we can save that little teaser for the resolutions to come in the last stop. Let's get into the meat of the episode. I think it's time to go skiing.
I think it's time for the last stop. I'm sorry. I think it's time.
No, it's not. It's not time for the last stop. I was just teasing the last stop here before we take off.
Tell the cabin crew.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
You know what's interesting about that review, Ryan, is that that guy clearly felt we had camaraderie, where others write in just Ryan like Kiernan.
It depends on the episode. It depends
on the episode. Yeah, it depends on the episode, the topic, the mood.
How well the tech worked when we started the podcast.
It also probably depends on how long it's been since we've seen each other. Like when we've just seen each other, it's grumpy and bitter.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So skiing for the skeptical. So we should begin, I think, by
what is skiing?
I'm actually right now playing with, I really like Legos. I build a lot of Legos with Charlie, and I have a little Indiana Jones Lego figure here that has skis. So I'm holding it and playing around with the skis and ski poles during the episode. And so we should talk quickly about our personal experience or inexperience with skiing. So why don't we kick off with yours? Because I genuinely do not know this about you. I don't believe growing up in Maryland there were many ski mountains close by. But you tell me, have you skied?
So I went skiing during the pandemic. If you remember this story,
first time, was that for the first time?
Yeah, up the Platkill Mountain in Roxbury, New York.
Oh yes, okay.
And I had an amazing black onesie. I
remember a lot of pictures of you stationary in a onesie.
So I never got off the practice, like down, like where they have like the children practice. I never went up on like a mountain. I hated it enough from just like the first 45 minutes of falling on the ice that I was just like, this is not a thing, because I don't like cold or speed or heights, and skiing kind of combines all those things. So yeah, that's my skiing
what
experience.
Got you out there? I assume some
the
sort
guy
of
that I was dating.
Sure.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
And was that person an experienced skier?
No, never had skied before, but took to it like a dog takes.
Sure. If I know you, I'm guessing he was probably considerably younger
and athletic
and a bit more spry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you've never gone back, just the one time.
No, but the second day we went, I didn't even suit up in my onesie. I just hung out in the what's it called?
Oh my God. Well, this is actually the lodge. I think is the word you're looking for. The lodge. I think this is a perfect setup because you are the skiing skeptical.
Yeah. Beyond that now. Yeah.
You're giving up. You're the skiing giving up. All right. So I would say my introduction to skiing. So my brothers would occasionally ski at like a hill in Connecticut that was nearby. And we used to get more snow when I was growing up than we do today because of climate change. So there was a little hill there called Powder Ridge that my brothers like actually learned the basics of skiing. And but I never went. We didn't have like a pair of skis around the family. We didn't have boots. We didn't have poles. And I do think that that's like one of the biggest hurdles for people to get over is it needs so much gear. Did you just rent all that stuff and you bought your onesie?
Yeah, I bought my onesie off of like Alibaba, and then I rented all the ski stuff there. But Platkill Mountain's like they advertise themselves as like, a place you can go to get started. So we got like a ski instructor and all that stuff. Yeah.
And where is that onesie today?
I believe in the move, it didn't survive. Like I didn't.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think
it's on the curbside.
I think it was gifted. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And it ended up in the Pacific Ocean and all like ahead. Well, so I didn't learn in high school. And then in college, my roommate from California actually did. He was very brave. He had a couple extra bucks kicking around, and he did devote one of his winter breaks to learning to ski with like a little ski recreational club. And he was always trying to get me to go. And I was like, this is my roommate. I didn't want to disappoint him, but like, I just didn't have the cash to like put out for the lift tickets and all the gear. And so I never actually did it. It was, I would say, a little bit a source of contention. And then I started to date in college, Catherine, who is now my wife. And as it turned out, she came from like a serious ski family. This was like 3 kids and parents born on skis, fully comfortable. Major tentpole moment of the family year is to go take a trip out west to Colorado and to ski for a week. Okay. So, I was kind of feeling it out for a few years there, putting it off. And then post college, it came to a single Christmas where I was with the Mackey family. And all of a sudden, was person was giving me a helmet, and the next person was giving me goggles, and the next person
they were sending you subtle tips.
Very subtle. And so that year, Catherine managed to get me out in Vermont, and I took lessons at Killington in Vermont. And that I would say is my number one recommendation for the skiing skeptical is that you must take a lesson if you are learning as an adult.
You have to take a lesson.
As painful as it is. Now, did you take a lesson?
Yeah, we had an instructor.
Okay. See, I'm surprised to hear you were that horrible, even with the help of an instructor.
Yeah. I mean, my legs don't have that functionality. I'm surprised
you were less aerodynamic than you are today because of the Ozempic, of course. So Ozempic, I think you're looking like a ski pole now.
I'm definitely thinner now. There's no doubt, but I'm also really tall.
That was pandemic time too,
I think little
did you just
kids
call yourself really tall?
Oh, I am 6'1.5". Little
half. You're holding on to that half.
All those little kids, every half inch counts. All those little kids just go so fast to their learning. It's like they don't have any idea that what they're doing is insane and dangerous.
Now every half inch counts. That's what you've got written on your Grindr profile, right? No, you've touched on something that I think is also very important for the skiing skeptical to recognize, which is you are going to be on starter hills with children who are doing so much better than you are, and they don't even have poles. But what you have to realize, somebody gave me this great insight that reframed it for me, was those kids have like 1 foot to fall to the ground. And also they're much more resilient than if you're learning in your 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
So you have to put your ego aside. And my argument is that skiing as an experience, once you get the basics underneath your skis and your boots, it opens up a whole new world of experiences and travel that you can enjoy. And I have to argue from the other side where, I'm at this intermediate level where like I could get through a black diamond. I've never done a double black diamond, but I can get through what is, not the easiest hills, but that opens up a lot more runs to me on a mountain.
Now, can you explain this to people? Because I didn't know about this before so it's like a Yellow Canary, double black diamond, Gates of Hell. Like what are the
well, okay. I actually think you're touching on another good thing for those of us who didn't grow up. It didn't grow up regularly going skiing. There is a whole language and culture that I think is very insidery and turns off a lot of people because you feel like there's no way in. And yeah, there's a lot of lingo. There's a lot of judgment too. I have to say, especially at like the ritzier resort places, you always feel a little lesser than if you're like me or Ryan. But that's why I would highlight that there are plenty of lodges and mountains out there that are smaller, more accessible, that are more neighborhood mountains. And I'm going to give my recommendation for the northeastern ones. But just to answer your question, Ryan, there's different levels of mountains, which my recommendation for you would be that before you actually go out, you look at a map of where you're going. And if you're just starting out, you're going to want to stick to those green trails because those are for the beginners, usually calm slopes. And you can kind of wend your way down or spend the day on the lift, going and seeking out these easier runs. The next step up is blue on most maps, and then the Black Diamond is the next hardest level. And again, that's where I'm like topping out these days. And then beyond that, you get the double Black Diamond, which I always thought was kind of weird that they like have colors up until the extra hard ones where they just double down on the black, whatever. This is me not growing up.
Yeah, the ski culture. The Widowmaker is one of them, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And then it goes up from there. There's triple black diamonds and then there's
what's the biggest you've ever done? What's the most unnecessary risk you've ever taken?
No, just the double black diamond. And it was it was more I was just trying to prove myself to my father-in-law than anything else.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I could do this one. And I did fine though. I did fine. But it does take years of falling and skis popping off. Not years, but many trips where you have to get comfortable with that.
It's so annoying when they pop off. And yeah.
Oh, it is really annoying. It's hard to get up too. I mean, it is a hard sport, but I think that falling is part of it. Even when you're very, very good, you're occasionally going to hit an icy patch or unpredictable terrain where falling is just part of the game.
No, that makes sense to me. This is really useful. I feel like this is a good introduction for folks.
Well, I think this would be a perfect podcast to give to somebody who you're trying to convince to go ski with you, because I've been there and God, was it really embarrassing and hard to begin with. But now I'm on the other side and I'm very happy that I did. Here's another thing that I want to tackle though, Ryan, which is I don't want to cover over what I think a lot of people do, which is the expense of going skiing. It is expensive. It is prohibitively expensive for many, many people. And I think, honestly, when push comes to shove, that is why I avoided it for so many years, because there's a lot of upfront expense, because you absolutely need ski pants. You need layers with a waterproof jacket, or you can get a onesie like you did. You need a helmet. You need goggles. And then you can rent poles and boots and skis. If you're just beginning.
I actually rented a helmet and goggles at the Plattkill Mountain. They had all that. They basically had like I've never skied before package. So
yeah, well, and that's perfect. That I think is a very good way to dip your toe in and see if it's for you. But I would also say, you did something that I wouldn't recommend, which is you gave up after one day.
Right.
And I really think you have to be committed to, I would say, like 4 days. Maybe you do 2 days of lessons, 2 to 4 hours with an instructor, either in a class or one-on-one. And then you give yourself some time to just go on some easy runs and get a feel for it yourself. And if you're going to be embarrassed, do it on your own. I remember Catherine always wanted to be with me on the mountain. And I said, honestly, I really need you to give me like 2 hours by myself because I'm so embarrassed and self-conscious about it. And it was like anything, it was just practice that got it under my feet. And also, I remember something that really helped me stick with it was I had a very good instructor who, when I got up on skis for the first time, he said, "Oh, it looks like you ice skate. Have you ice skated?" And I said, "Yeah, I really." No, listen, this is important. He was complimentary because he was saying the keeping your balance on ice skates and the way you turn on ice skates actually gives you a very good base work for how to do it on skis, because it's the same idea of you've got two blades under your feet and now you have two long skis under your feet.
Yeah, no, I mean, and for me, it's from all the surfing. That's where I was able to.
You're a major surfer, famous for your surfing capabilities. Have you surfed?
I've bodyboarded. No, I've never.
Okay, so you haven't surfed. Okay. The other pieces then. I on the initial gear too. There is a vast market of secondhand gear that you can get. Real skiers, like serious skiers, are always upgrading their equipment. They're pretty equipment obsessed. And in that case, they're often selling off their slightly used equipment. Go and get slightly used equipment if you're just testing it out. Or if you have a friend, chances are, if you ask them, "Hey, do you have a spare set of goggles or something kicking around?" They will help you and lend it to you for you to get under on the mountain for the first time to see if this is going to be for you.
Yeah, it is. It is like golf in that way, where you can get gently used equipment.
And then I think something that is under talked about, that for most people, skiing is actually a destination sport, right? So you have to build in a drive or a flight to do it. And that, of course, comes with its own expenses. And what I would mostly recommend is for your initial time out, you're going to want to look around for what is a good mountain that is on the affordable side, because some of these mountains, their daily lift tickets can get up to $250, $300. But when you're a beginner, I would argue you don't really need to go to those particular mountains. I was just looking. So the place I had a friend from New Hampshire who I asked, like, in New Hampshire, skiing is like ice skating. It's like not a big deal. It's like your parents drop you off on Saturday and you do it all day kind of activity. And he said there's a mountain called Cannon, which was turned out to be really the mountain that I learned on. And Cannon, their lift ticket off peak, so off weekends, is $99, and on weekends is $120. And by ski standards, that is pretty darn affordable.
Yeah, no, that's definitely affordable. I think it's in the world of what we paid.
The other thing that if you become more serious, or you have the freedom to go skiing 4, 5, 6, 7 times through the winter, are these two passes, the Icon Pass and the Epic Pass. And these are basically the larger resorts which are buying up lots of different mountains. They kind of keep you within the family. So, the whole idea is that if you're in the Northeast, maybe you're going to get one of these passes, ski some of their mountains in the Northeast, go for a few weeks out west, and go to others that you can use your pass on. They run about $1,000 to $1,200. So you do have to be going many times, but if you live in closer proximity, maybe a 2-hour drive like I do in Massachusetts to some of these mountains, that could be something realistic for you. And it could ultimately be saving your money. And, I hear you say, oof, but when you put it in the context of, if you're taking a trip and you're taking a flight and you're taking a hotel, I mean, for a lot of people, skiing is the center activity for their winter. And that's something that certainly my wife grew up being, and there were a few winters there where it was the same for us. We did a big Colorado trip where we went to Beaver Creek, and we went to a mountain called Copper Mountain, which was a really great place for an intermediate skier like me.
Oh, that sounds fun. I'll still be there drinking the hot mixed drinks over at the lodge.
There's also there's kind of a hot travel tip in the New York Times recently that was about how cost effective it can be to combine a skiing vacation with a European vacation, because lift tickets and a day out on the mountains have actually not inflated in price as much on the continent as they have in the U.S. And so where they've climbed up to 250 and more here, there are still a lot of, more humble, everyday, but great ski mountains in Europe where you can get on the mountain for $75 a day. So, if you were considering a week in Colorado, where you're paying that 250 every day, or 75 in Switzerland, that flight may actually be the wash, and you get a big vacation out of it too. So it could actually be a cost-effective solution. Pretty neat.
I like that. That's clever.
And so I want to sum up with what my personal experience has been, that skiing has kind of opened up to and appealed to me as a sport worth traveling for. The first is very, very pleasing as an athletic experience. So once you get over well, really, even when you are learning, it is not an easy sport. You definitely feel it in your body, you feel it in your legs, and it has kind of that same pleasure that I get from a big national parks trip, where when you go out and you're hiking a 10-mile, a 12-mile hike in a day, when you sit down to dinner that night, you feel like you've really earned something big. You've earned your beer, your mixed drink. And I have found that on a nice ski day, you've always feel like you've earned that pleasure at the end of the day. Sounds like you just did that without the skiing.
Yeah,
part on
no,
day two.
I was happy just to earn that pleasure while my significant other skied. But maybe you've inspired me to give this another shot. But I don't know.
Well, the second argument I have is skiing as an outdoor experience. I think this one is like a little less acknowledged, but the truth is, like, being out on some of these mountains gives you such awesome, beautiful views. And if you are, warm enough and you're comfortable enough on your skis, going up on those lifts and just looking around at the beauty, especially the time I have spent in Colorado has really shown this to me. You can just see vast distances, and again, a great reminder of what beautiful countryside and nature we have in the U.S. And honestly, there's not too many other ways to get those views and those experiences. And when Catherine and I went to Beaver Creek, there were lots and lots of ski runs that were going through, patches of conifer forest. And it really it's one of the few times that you can be on vacation, and even if there's other skiers around you, it's a very individual sport. So you can get quite a lot of inner peace and nature time and sort of almost meditation time in nature. And guess what? It's not that easy to check your phone with your heated gloves or your mittens on. So it kind of forces you to unplug a little bit. And I really appreciate it for that.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I didn't like. I was like trying to tweet while I was on the slope.
God, the internet needs to see my onesie.
Yeah. If our friend Rich Mintz would get a little camera installed on the top of his.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, we're really dropping the blue state names here. The third is, it's a very good trip to take as a family or a friend experience, because you can go to one mountain where the expert skier and the beginner skier can all have things to do. And many of them are arranged so that there are lodges or lunch spaces where you can say, okay, we're all going to go out for 2 hours and do our individual thing. And then we're going to meet up, compare notes, have fun, and then do an afternoon together. And I have just found for all levels, it's very good for that. And, I'm experiencing this right now. Charlie actually just took his first ski lesson.
So Charlie's going to be one of those kids who's just a natural.
For sure. Well, we'll see. But yes, I mean, I was probably the most enthusiastic about having him take lessons, because I know what it is to learn as an adult. I would much rather have learned at 5. So it's really nice for all different levels and all different ages. And I think it's great for that. And then the final is, skiing, I think, can give, just like going out to a national park or knowing that there's a specific museum that you want to see can be the impetus for a full vacation plan. If you know that you want skiing to be part of a March outing, then it automatically narrows it down to a bunch of destinations that you can plan a whole trip around. So when Catherine and I used to go to Colorado, I'm trying to think if we went in the pandemic. We definitely went just before the pandemic. And we would always spend a couple days in Denver. We would work remotely in Denver. And we would check out a bunch of the great Denver restaurants. Denver's very big on breakfast tacos, or breakfast burritos, surprisingly. So we'd always get a breakfast burrito. Take in a bunch of the museums there. They have a train station that has all this awesome food stalls. And there was one thing there I never got to see, which is why I got to go back to Denver, which is the Molly Brown house, the house of Molly Brown from the Titanic.
The unsinkable Molly Brown.
As Catherine likes to say, reason to go back. But it was always really great to combine, okay, we're going to do this, city close to the mountain, and then we're going to go on our ski days and combine culture and athletics. So I think skiing is really nice central point for planning a trip like that. And I'm very intrigued by these European recommendations that the Times has. And I will put those in the show notes. I have not skied in Europe, so that feels like a goal for me.
I know a guy who skis in Switzerland all the time and seems to love it. It's beautiful.
I feel like if you're in Switzerland, you just have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ryan, I hope that it does sound like I've softened your view a little bit. I'm not sure. There's some skiing in Chile.
I know. I mean, so it's hard to believe it's 90.
Squeeze it in.
Yeah, it's 92 degrees here in Santiago. So
well, you're not in the mountains.
No,
you're not in the mountains.
No.
Well, with that, Ryan, I think hopefully I convinced you that in the year ahead, one of your resolutions could get back up on skis. And with that, I'm going to suggest we move on to our resolutions last stop.
The last stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train.
All right, Ryan. Well, we're here in the last stop. This is the last segment of the show, the final segment of the show. That's why we call it the last stop. And it's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. It's popularly known as the People's segment. And that's because we come together as a community to share. And it could be anything we share. It could be a memory. It could be a longing. I don't know that we've ever done a longing, but you could do a longing. It could be a piece of gear. It could be an anecdote. It could be a trip that you just went on, or it could be a trip that you're planning. It can be anything, but it has to meet one criterion. It has to check a specific box. And that is, it must inspire the spirit of wanderlust within us, even during the workaday week. So, Ryan, I want to ask you, as I ask you every episode, have you brought, and this one's a special one, a New Year's resolution last stop this week?
I have. So, my resolution is to take more day trips outside of the main place that I'm staying. I was just in Colombia. Good. Yeah, I was just in Colombia for 6 months, and I'm gone now for quite a while, and I'm looking back, and there's all these things that are 2-3 hours outside of Bogota I really wanted to do. And when the weekend came, I just sort of, I didn't make it happen. So
yeah,
I'm making sure on my trip out to Europe that I'm going to do a couple day trips. I've got one planned from Krakow to Auschwitz. I've got one planned from Romania into Transylvania to see Dracula's castle. So I'm trying to do more of these trips where I wake up early in the morning and I just get out for the day and then get back late at night and experience something totally different than where I am.
Have I given you my salt mine recommendation outside of Krakow?
No, I should though, because I've been to the other salt mine. There's only two.
I know
salt
you have.
Yeah,
I know, and this one has
Salt Cathedral,
a Catholic chapel down there.
So does the one.
Yeah, they love the underground salt cathedrals. Yeah. This one I believe is named after Saint Kinga.
Yeah.
Saint
I should definitely do that as well. But
I love the day trip. I feel like that's very true to what we've talked about in terms of like the US and local travel, especially during the pandemic, that there's lots of stuff to see within a few hours of wherever you are. And you're right, applying that, especially because you've been in South America now for a fair bit of time, you're probably exhausting some of the main central city places. And so looking into that 2-hour radius outside is great. Would you ever drive? Do you drive down there?
In some places I would drive. Like in Santiago, we got a driver, which is similar.
Sure. Yeah.
But so I don't know that I would drive necessarily, but it would be, easy enough to figure out ways to get around. So that's, it's in Europe. It's amazing because now I'm just like, there must be a train there, and everywhere I look, of course I can take a train.
Of course,
it's so nice to have that option.
What's very interesting, Ryan, is I was looking back at our resolutions a year ago. And I think that in both cases, neither of us accomplished the resolution within the calendar year 2024, but we have both set ourselves up to accomplish it in 2025 because your resolution was to get back to Europe. And I don't believe you did that in 2024, but now you have this big trip planned in the months ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Europe talk, folks, on for the first half of 2025 coming to you.
I mean, I feel like we've got 3 or 4 Poland episodes coming up because then we'll have both been, and I've got a lot to say about Warsaw, Krakow, and the environs.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. What's your resolution?
Yes, I do have a last stop this week, Ryan. Well, first off, oh my God, 3rd year running, I have not accomplished one of my resolutions, which actually is very close to home, which is I really want to master the capitals of every country in the world. I feel like it's always the islands that trip me up, because some of these island countries I'm so unfamiliar with that to remember the island and the capital always makes it hard work. But
what's the capital of Micronesia?
Well, exactly. This is, I couldn't tell you. This is why I failed in 2023 and 2024. So I want to recommit in 2025. And a year from now, I'm going to be coming on. I'm going to be talking about capitals that you've never even heard of. And it's going to be very pleasurable. So we're going to double down on that one. The other resolution that I made last year that I did not fulfill this year, but which is going to happen in 2025 is planning sort of a larger destination trip with the full family. This is partially in service of folks asking for a traveling with kids episode or series. And sure enough, in June, we've got Alaska coming up, and that's a big across the country sort of trip that we'll be taking with both of my kids.
I don't think I knew the kids were going. That's exciting.
Oh, yeah. My 5-year-old and 3-year-old were doing it. And so I feel, again, didn't get it in 2024, but it's on the books for 2025. And then there's a few other things we're looking at, potentially Yellowstone, potentially a London trip, and then probably some more local travel. So we'll see what happens there. The other one I did make in the past, Ryan, that I did accomplish was writing the book. That was last year's. I said I'm going to finish the book. And sure enough, I finished the book. I had got out Secret Boston, An Unusual Guide. By the way, very cool. A bunch of people who got it on Christmas posted and tagged me in their posts on Instagram, which was really, really neat to see. So I appreciated that for those who got Secret Boston this past Christmas and Hanukkah. And I am resisting the urge to put together another book proposal, but I do have a very good idea for a secret guide that I would like to either edit or write some of. I don't know that I can sign on right now for a full nother book, but I do have this little desire.
Secret Hartford?
No,
be a pamphlet.
I will say, but listen, I wish that I could write Secret Chicago. I would need like a month just to live in Chicago, which I can't do. But Chicago is begging for a secret guide. So if anybody's out there who wants to write Secret Chicago, get in touch with me.
Well, that would be exciting. Well, when we come back next episode, we're going to talk about Chile. I'm still deciding how we're going to divide the episodes up because there's so much to talk about. Might do a Santiago specific one and then talk about stuff outside of Santiago. We'll figure that out, but I'm super excited to talk about it.
I'm most excited because Chile has always lived large in my imagination, because back in middle school and high school, when I was working at the rectory, Father Luis was from Chile. He used to come and talk to me about Chile, and
he probably had some stories.
Father Luis, he was a young man, ended up falling in love with a parishioner and converting to being Episcopalian.
Wow. Well, we won't hold that against him. That's very conclave of him.
I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I'll be thinking of Father Luis on our upcoming Chile episodes.
All right. Well, until then, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kieran Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, an outdoor sports podcast.
Is this ski lift seat taken?
Oh, I don't even like the ski lift. It freaked me out so much.
I love the ski lift. I mean, it's cold though.